You're watching Sky World News. Our top stories this morning. The Taliban has denied responsibility for a massive truck bomb attack in the Afghan capital, in which at least 90 people were killed and about 400 injured. White House sources say President Donald Trump is expected to pull the US out of the international Paris climate change agreement aimed at curbing global warming. And the UK's Theresa May has been accused of running scared as the only leader of a major political party to refuse to take part in televised election debates last night. Some breaking news for you this morning, and that is that a piracy expert has been talking to Reuters and has said that Somali pirates are suspected to have hijacked a Sri Lankan flagged fuel freighter, and that's after the ship sent a distress call, turned off its tracking system and altered course for the Somali coast. The ship is the Dubai-owned RS-13, and the piracy expert is John Steed. He's from the aid group Oceans Beyond Piracy. And if this incident is confirmed, it would be the first hijack of a commercial ship by Somali pirates since 2012. So we'll bring you all the latest on that as and when it comes in. Good morning to you. If you're just joining us, there is a very serious fire in West London. These are the latest pictures. It's in the Grenfell apartment building tower. It's a 27-storey building. And according to the London Fire Brigade, the fire is from the second to top floor of that 27-storey building. So that was Assistant Chief Constable Darren Best from the Northumbria Police, just bringing us up to date with the latest from Newcastle, where a 42-year-old woman has hit in her car 6 people in a pram outside a sports centre, in Newcastle. The latest there is 6 people were injured. 2 of the children are in intensive care. 1 adult is in the high dependency unit. The 42-year-old woman is still in custody. No charges have been brought yet, and this is not being dealt with as a terror-related incident. So that's the latest from Newcastle and the Northumbria Police. Let's move on now and cross over to the Sky Sports studio for an update from there. Well, for more on this, I'm joined from Central London by Andrew Holdenby, who's the director of the Public Services think tank Reform, and by Kevin Hurley, who is a former Met police officer and police crime commissioner for Surrey. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Andrew, if I could just begin with you. It doesn't seem like an ideal situation, does it, if in the West Midlands work is being divvied out by according to who's the least tearful in the morning?
Well, I mean, we will all have been really struck by what we've just heard in that.
OK, Kevin, what do you think? Do we need more money or more efficient use of the funding that's already there?
Well, let me address the 3 points there.
Well, you may have told a fib or two during a job interview, but new research suggests being honest makes you 3 times more likely to land the role. Findings published in the Journal of Applied Psychology show qualified candidates who are frank about their shortcomings come across as being more authentic to bosses.
Just don't put it to the test.
That is our main story this morning. A vehicle has struck pedestrians in North London just after midnight. The Metropolitan Police say officers were called to the incident on Seven Sisters Road in Finsbury Park at 12:20 a.m. And we understand that vehicle struck people leaving Finsbury Park Mosque following midnight prayers. It didn't happen exactly outside that mosque. It happened at the Muslim Welfare Centre. The police have confirmed there are casualties and that 1 person has been arrested. Let's go to our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White. And Mark, what can you tell us? So footage there of the arrest made, and police have confirmed that 1 person was arrested following that incident when a van hit pedestrians coming out of the Finsbury Park Mosque. It happened outside the Muslim Welfare House, just down from the mosque. A very real sense of the anger there. And our reporter, Ashish Joshi, is on the scene. He's been speaking to witnesses. Let's have a listen now. He spoke to Mohammed Abdullah, who witnessed the incident and who said it was a deliberate attack.
None of this has really been entirely determined yet. It's perfectly possible that all the compensation payments were quite fairly paid to people who are entirely deserving of the compensation.
It all, unfortunately, comes down to cost, doesn't it, really? Because to monitor someone, in this instance of Fidley, it would have been 10 years. They would have had to have people on him. And I think it's up to between 30 or 40 officers per person. I mean, you just can't afford that, can you?
Well, but they are doing a lot of monitoring all the time, as they should.
Well, air travel across the Gulf region and beyond is facing major disruption after Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Egypt cut diplomatic, travel and transport ties with Qatar. Let's talk about this now with Giorgio Cafiero. He's the CEO of Gulf State Analytics, which is a geopolitical risk consultancy. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. So this may be the first time a lot of people have heard about these divisions between Qatar and its neighbours and their allies. But this is really something that's gone back decades, isn't it? Okay, Giorgio, what does it mean for the millions of expats who live in Doha and across the Gulf?
A lot is at stake at this moment. You're absolutely right.
Let's have a listen and a look now at footage, very difficult footage to watch, but footage taken from inside the arena when this explosion happened. Remember that the explosion actually happened in the foyer outside the arena. It happened as Ariana Grande, this pop star that we're all talking about, 23-year-old American pop star. She had finished her set, the lights had come up, and people were filing out, and this is what happened. Parents taking their teenagers there, teenagers who were unaccompanied, often their parents drop them off at these concerts and pick them up afterwards. So a scene of chaos following that explosion in Manchester. We're expecting a Cobra meeting. Downing Street says there will be an emergency security meeting. That's happening at 9 a.m. We'll bring you all the latest right here on Sky after this break. Well, let me bring you some of the response that we have received from politicians. And the Prime Minister, Theresa May, has said her thoughts are with the victims and families of those affected in, quote, what is being treated by the police as an appalling terrorist attack. The Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, says that she has condemned the barbaric attack which saw the blast rip through that music venue. She says the full details of what happened at the Manchester Arena were still emerging. Police had confirmed 19 people have died. And Ms. Rudd had said, my thoughts are with all those affected by this barbaric act. So that's a response from the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary, who will both be in that Cobra meeting this morning at 9 a.m.
If we're talking about Iran and regional stability, we also have to look at Syria. What do you think Mr. Hammond is going to say to the Gulf countries when it comes to the Turkey and Russia relationship in particular?
I think he will urge them to support it. They're not feeling at all happy about that.
Well, Michael, we do live in a democracy. Everyone has a right to say exactly what they want, and perhaps there is a need for that debate, for people who don't agree with what's going on to, as Blair himself argued, that there's an ineffective opposition, and if Labour is not saying it, then someone has to. Do you think he was saying that? Do you think he was patronising, or he was just saying that people just didn't have the information at hand going into that vote, and now they've got a better idea of what's to come? That's a huge problem, isn't it? Because you have to understand these platforms, and for many parents, they're so foreign that you can't understand Snapchat. If you go onto Snapchat, it's quite difficult to understand. And the very nature of these things are that whatever your children are putting out there or whatever they're receiving, they're gone as soon as they're watched. How do you police that as a parent?
I think there's a two-pronged attack here.
So, Matt, if come 3 p.m. he walks out into the Rose Garden and says, we're pulling out, do you think the language he's going to use is going to be unequivocal, or will this be the start of something different, that perhaps another deal can be negotiated?
Kimberly, at this point, it's too early to tell.
OK, Matt, thanks a lot. I just want to ask you one more question. Kofefe,
Yes.
What do you think it meant?
I think it was a Twitter-inspired typo. It meant like confab or something like that. But talk about consuming the media today.
Absolutely,
what a crazy
the world. OK, Matt, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure. Good night.